In today's lesson, we're going to learn how to take a Blender file like this one and change the model so that it is ready for 3D printing like this. So if you're interested, we're going to go through 5 steps in how to get from here to here. It's kind of a long one, so strap in. Okay, so here we have our knight, and the first step, if we have done this correctly, he'll be easily posable. The first step is to just put him in a pose, and some like elements will kind of clip through each other, but we're not going to worry about that in this first step. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pose it very simply. And I'm going to pose this model in a few different ways just to get the most out of it, right? So if you're at this point in your like Blender journey, congratulations, because this is like, it took me years to like get to this point. So if you're here, congratulations. We're going to try to get the most out of it, okay? So out of this one guy, we're going to try to, like, technically we can get like an infinite amount of like miniatures out of it, right? But we'll do maybe like 3 for now, okay? And I'm just going to show you the process I go through on just one of the poses, okay? And then I'll show you what else I come up with. Okay, so the first step is to just simply pose it, okay? So the pose I'm gonna show is like gonna be like the simplest one. And it's gonna just be him like running forward with his sword and shield, okay? I actually have the bottom in one group and the top in one group. And usually I will parent the top to the bottom. Okay, so if I move the bottom, the whole thing moves. Okay, and this line right here can serve as our like ground. Okay, so I'm gonna want him like running forward, so I'm gonna tilt him forward a little bit. Yeah, I think that's fine. We'll take his head and we'll tilt it up so that he's looking forward. Okay. I'm actually gonna turn the waist a little bit, like, yeah, let's go shield hand forward. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's move his head back to center. Okay, and then this leg will go forward like this, and then we'll bend it like that. And then if something gets in the way, you could just press H to, you know, remove it out of the way for now. Okay. And then let's maybe take the foot like this, and then we're gonna tilt it. Not that much, maybe like this. Oh, and I didn't. And then this and this will take, and then put it like that. For now, we'll fix it later, but we're gonna leave it like that for now. And then with his back leg, we want it to be kind of like this. And then we're just gonna tilt this. So that it's flat like this and then flat like that. And then we'll kind of just adjust it the best we can to fit this level. Okay? And then like you know how, I don't know if you saw what I just did, but I moved this whole foot down to match the level of this, or at least, you know, try to get close. And if we make like micro adjustments like this, no one's usually gonna notice that this foot is like kind of like off its original like hinge, right? So yeah, just do the best you can with that. And then with this, we can move it like something like this. And yeah, I think that's fine for now. Okay, so we got the leg. This is probably the hardest part. So I'm actually impressed with myself that I got it this good on the first try. because you know things will just like not look right. But this looks pretty right. Okay, so let's get the shield back, Alt H, and then let's move. So here, you know, we have like so much freedom, right? So we just need to make like a decision of how we want him to be holding this shield. And like, I think this looks pretty good. What do you think? Just have him off to the side. And then with this sword, I don't know, I think we can like call it a day. You know? What do you think? Yeah, it's more like there. And then let's line it up with the bottom. Yeah. So the reason why I want this to be as flat as possible is because this is for a miniature. Let's actually get in a 1-inch base. Okay, so here is our 1-inch base. And I think, yeah, the placement of the base looks about correct. So this is kind of like an approximation of what you can expect when you like 3D print this, right? And you know, like the reason why I say like the little things don't matter is because when you're looking at this, you don't really notice like the small mistakes, right? Like right now, this is so rigid, right? It doesn't even look like cloth, and the same with the back. So yeah, we're gonna fix that right now. So okay, so we have it posed. The next thing we got to figure out is anything like clipping like really badly. Like right here, I would say this is not acceptable. So we have to get this into like an acceptable state, okay? And this looks a little off as well. So I'm just gonna maybe fix that up a little bit. Okay, that looks fine. This, yeah, that looks fine. Because this is like behind the shield, it won't be that noticeable. So that's all I will do with it. Let's see. This is okay. This is definitely not okay, right? And this, I have it actually mirrored. And normally I would want it like independent, like, you know, like we can move the legs independently of each other. But I think I'm just gonna try to leave this as is because it'll save us a lot of time. Okay, so these, whatever these things are called, like the side plates or whatever. Okay, I like this side, but I don't like this side. And here's what we can do. Okay, so right now we have the, like all these modifiers still active, right? I'm going to apply all the modifiers by doing visual geometry to mesh. Okay, now this is one object, but it's like two separate pieces. So if we go into edit mode and then press A to select all, we can do a right click and then separate by loose parts. Okay, now these two things are different objects, but you know, the pivot, the origin point is still over here. So we click this one, press right click, set origin to center of mass. So now we can move these a little independently. So I'm gonna leave this one and then just move this one to be a little more to my liking. Okay, I do kind of want it clipping like this, like it's hanging off the belt there. So I think that's fine. I think that is fine. Okay. And then I'm just looking at any other points that might look, you know, like it's clipping. And I don't really see any. There is this part, but because of what this is and like how we want this bend to be, it's kind of inevitable. Like there's really nothing I can do about this. Like I can move it up. And that might look okay, but I think it's a little too forward because there's so much like empty space over here now. So I'm just gonna move it back. And yeah, just keep it like that. Same with this. A little overlap like that is usually not that bad. And then we have this, but we're gonna just change this whole thing right now, okay? So step number 1 was pose. Step number 2 was get rid of any like egregious clipping. And then step number 3 is clothing, like cloth. If you were designing this for like game design, cloth is like super easy. You just do like a cloth sim so that, you know, like if you ever played like a video game, you know, they have like the cape like flowing, right? And it's, but this is specifically for 3D printing. So we want a rigid, but a realistic looking cloth, right? And I will admit this is one of my weakest points, okay? So my cloth is very basic and I usually just get it to a point where it looks good enough and yeah, I leave it at that. So what I usually do is I leave the modifiers on and then in edit mode, I go to vertex select and then turn on proportional editing, okay? So I just take a point and then I usually just move it. I just move it where I think it should go. And then depending on like the area, I just change like the strength of it. Like this. And then if this part comes out too much, we can always just tuck it back in. Maybe this area could be like this, and then I would want it to kind of be pointed this way so we can do a rotate. Whoa. We can do a rotate like that. And then this, let's push backward a little. And then rotate it this way, maybe. I don't know, something like that. This is not its final form. We're gonna sculpt it to make it look a little bit better. But if you are happy with this, you can apply the modifier so that now it looks like this and it's ready for sculpting. Okay, so let's do the same thing in the back. I think I want this flailing out a little. So we're gonna move it like this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna make it a little bit wider in the back so that it covers the butt more. Something like that. Okay, so yeah, step number 3 is cloth. If you're happy with your like the way your model is posed, so this is like a good time to save your file. So yeah, I'm gonna save it as night rushing. So step 4 is setting the model and filling gaps. So it's like a two-parter. So at this point, if you are happy with how the model looks, like how the model is posed, we're gonna set it. And the way we do that is we're gonna press A to select all, and then we're gonna press Alt P to get rid of any parenting. The reason why we do this is sometimes after, so yeah, nothing is parented anymore. The reason why we do this is because sometimes when we join the models while parenting is still active, it could trigger some like crazy weird effects. So If we're happy with what this guy is posed like, we set it, and then we get rid of all the parenting. Now this, like to get all the parenting back, you would have to like redo everything. So that is why we just saved it right before we do this. After we get rid of all the parenting, we need to now apply any unapplied modifiers. So here's like, you know, there's like modifiers. So to apply all the modifiers, we're gonna press A and then Control A and then Visual Geometry to Mesh. Now this will apply all the modifiers, including like the hair, right? So we can actually get rid of this because we don't need that anymore. And yeah, there are no like active modifiers, right? Everything is applied. So to fill the gaps, we're actually going to click all the skin parts on the inside. Let's go all the way to the head. And to check to see if you like clicked on everything, you can just like move it and then remind yourself that's what's underneath. And there we go. We're gonna leave the eyes out, so that's fine. And then we're just gonna right click and then join. Okay. So if we are to isolate this, like this is what it looks like. And in this step, what we want to do is we want to get rid of any like harsh like creases, right? But all we did was join this together. So like if you were to go to X-ray mode, you can still see that there's internal geometry. And that's what we don't want because that'll mess up our printing. So what we can do is, I always like to apply the scale before I do this. We're gonna remesh. So go to sculpt mode, and then we're gonna remesh to 0.05. This is the voxel size I like to stay at when I'm just free sculpting, okay? And then click remesh. And then that was pretty quick. So now this, if we go to X-ray mode, all the inside stuff is gone, right? And this is, let's turn off symmetry. So this is all just like one model with all the insides emptied out, okay? And basically what we can do is just hold shift and like smooth out all these areas where, you know, it used to be like two separate models, okay? And then we can do the neck. And then, yeah, magically this just kind of looks like we sculpted this whole thing like together, but in reality, this all used to be different pieces. Okay, so that's good for now. And then now when we go back to our whole thing, like there's no harsh like creases that was, you know, that made it noticeably like, oh, these are two objects that we just pushed together, right? And then lastly, what I'd like to do is on some of the more like obvious parts, I want to make this look like, you know, he's wearing some kind of like undercloth. Okay, so what I like to do is with us seeing where all the armor is, we're just gonna sculpt like straight on the skin, and we're gonna do our best to make it look clothy. Okay, so we're on the draw brush. I'm gonna keep it at 50% strength, and then we're adding stuff. Okay, so what? Hold on. Oh, we're okay. So make sure you have this clicked, and then we're gonna go to scoped. We're on draw, 50%. We're adding. Okay. Like I said, I'm not like the best at this, but you can kind of just look at some reference images and, you know, just make this look as clothy as you can. And the reason why we leave all the armor on is because we don't have to worry about, you know, the underneath stuff, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so like at a glance, it looks pretty clothy, right? Like he's wearing like baggy-ish pants. And then usually what I like to do after is just hold shift and then go over the whole thing to just smooth it out. So the lines aren't as harsh. Okay. And then for this area, this butt is looking very round, so I'm just gonna maybe work on this a little bit more, like that. Does that help things? I don't know. No one's gonna notice, right? And from this angle, you can see that there's a booty right there. Okay. So yeah, once you're done with that, we're gonna press G for grab, and then we're just gonna fix it up as much as we can while filling up like little gaps like this, okay? So we're just gonna take like a big brush and we're just gonna move it. We're just like click, 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 click and drag, okay? And then here, like we want things to clip, but like not like this, right? But like this, a little bit of clipping like that is okay. And we want the pants now, right, to be a little baggier here. Like where it meets the knee pads, okay? So that's what we have. I think that looks fine. Kind of tucking that in, and I think that's fine. Okay. You know, with the body and the arms, I'm not gonna like worry too much about it. I will do a little bit, but you know, you like all things considered, you don't really see that much of it, so I'm just gonna do it very slightly, where I don't even know if you'll notice the changes that I make, right? And then I'm using the grab brush again to fill these, you know, fill any gaps here. One other brush that we can, I guess, talk about is the crease brush. Sometimes I like to use this to like add a little like definition like this, so that you can tell like this sleeve is kind of like tucked in here. Like add like lines like this. Why is this so? Okay. So yeah, it makes it look like this, where it kind of seems like, you know, the shirt is tucked in there, but this, I kind of hate this. This just looks like a deformed arm, which in fairness, that's exactly what it is. But hopefully people don't notice that, right? What is, do I need to like flail it out more? And then with this part, just like, you know, I thought about like time lapsing this, but I want you to actually, I want you to know like exactly how long this process takes, because it can be very painful. And I don't want to like give the illusion that this, you know, because you have your model like all posed up nice and whatever, that you just have a miniature ready to print. I just, you know, for the full experience, I need you to know how long this process can take. I'm probably like doing a little more than I need to, because I'm trying to show you like exactly what I would do if I had, you know, infinite time and whatever. Just so you know, like, you know, the different things you can put into it to make like your miniature look that much better. But all like, this is, if you saw, yeah, like, you know how we were doing like the sword and shield for like passing grade? This is like, we're like actually trying to get a good grade in our Blender sculpting, right? Okay. But I think that looks fine. Like you can see like little ripples here, so you can assume like that's cloth and not his bare chest. The neck we can leave as is, because that looks fine. And then we have the face like that, okay? Like, I really don't like the arm right there, but I'm just gonna leave it, and hopefully anybody who's not watched this video will never notice how bad that looks. Okay? All right, and then we could possibly do the same thing with these pieces, but I kind of like how it looks, because it looks kind of rigid. If we were to, I'll show you real quick. If we were to sculpt it, I would do something like this, something like this. I don't, maybe something like that, you know, to make it look more flowy. And then I could just use the grab brush to like fix it. And you know what? I kind of like it, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay, so we could do the same thing. I'm not sure if the same effect will be gotten with this because I don't know. I maybe draw a line like this, draw a line like that, and then draw a line just straight down the middle. Straight down the middle. Okay, I don't like that. That I think looks a little better. Let's start tucking some things in. Tuck it in, tuck it in. And then here I might utilize the crease brush to go something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Normally I would do kind of like a zigzag pattern like this. But because of the way it's flowing this way, I think this is fine. And it's getting a little low poly right there. So I am going to go into object mode, apply the scale, and then go back into sculpt mode. We're gonna change the voxel size to 0.05. And then remesh. And then we'll just hold shift and then smooth that out. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so we are nearing the end. We kind of have to do the same thing with, I'm gonna leave that as is, with the fingers, okay? So we're just gonna make sure, I'm just gonna move this like oh. I don't know what happened there. I'm just gonna move this slightly like this. This is a little more freeform because our parenting is turned off. But yeah, I think that's fine. So let's, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna hide this, and this, right? Okay, and then we're just gonna join that. And I left it separate from the body so that when we do this scale, applying the scale and then sculpting to 0.05, that this is kind of like independent of this because I don't want this whole thing to like remesh, right? And then here to get rid of these like creases, all I do is hold shift and drag. And here I just kind of like spot smooth. So I'm holding shift and then I'm like dabbing the mouse button. Okay, but honestly, this is like one of those steps I'm like, do I really need to like do that? Will people even notice? And because the hands are so small compared to like if, you know, this is 1 inches right there. So this is like a couple millimeters big. Like, are people even gonna notice all this effort I'm putting into the hand, right? So here we're just sculpting it to 0.5 and then we're smoothing it out. Smooth it out, holding shift and spot, smoothing it out. And then we could leave the wrist detached from the body for now. Okay, let's go back. And then step number 5 is final checks. Okay, so this is just like looking over the whole thing and then like see if you missed anything. And I think this is looking pretty good. I don't really like how there's so many gaps, so I need to fix this. So yeah, that is what I will do right now. So yeah, step number 5, final checks. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to go to sculpt mode, turn off this, and I'm just gonna like drag and just fill in the gaps here. Because like there is like a tiny gap right there, which I think this is fine, so I'm not gonna fill all that. But you don't want your model to be filled with a lot of those tiny gaps because it'll just make it like that much more brittle. And resin is not the strongest unless you use, you know, like tougher resin. But if you're using standard resin, it's not that tough to start with. So you want to make this as solid as possible. Okay. So if you ever like heard me utter the words like post-process, this entire thing is part of that post-processing. Okay. That's why, and that is why when you're initially modeling, take broad strokes, okay? Don't worry about the small stuff. I believe that's like rule number 2. Don't sweat the small stuff because you can fix it in post. Okay, so I think I'm okay with this as is. And honestly, I think we're done. One thing I will show you real quick, I'm gonna get rid of the helmet. He looks kind of weird. This could actually, you know, if you wanted him to be bald, you would have to add the ears back, but one thing I'm gonna show you that I do, I'm not gonna worry about the eyes because they're covered by the visor, but this is how, like, as far as like mouths go, all I did with this was just crease it like right there, right? So not edit mode, sculpt mode, okay? All I did was crease it, right? So if you wanna change that, you know, you can just smooth it out, go to crease brush, and then you can just like give them a smile. I'm doing this real quick, but you know, you can take more time or like put symmetry on, so you could just do one side. And this is not what I'm going for, but that was just like an example. I usually go with this like slight downward curve because it makes it look like they're, you know, this is like their resting face, right? Like a determined resting face. But you can do like a smirk or one of these. That looks really bad. But I'm going to show you how I would do like how I do an open mouth, and it's super simple. I just add a sphere, and then I put it right here, halfway in, halfway out. And then I scale it up a little bit and maybe go like this, and then go, I'm scaling it on the YY, like that, so that it's like an oval. And because we moved the head, this is off center. Yeah, something like this. I call this like the bubblegum method because it kind of looks like he's blowing a big bubble. And then we're just gonna add a few subdivisions, maybe two. Let's go with 3 so we don't have to remesh the whole thing. Okay, we're going with 3. And then all we do is take this, holding shift, click that, and we do a Boolean, a difference Boolean, okay? And then it'll just subtract this from this. So then that's what we're left with. And then we're gonna go back into sculpting, and then I just kind of hold shift and go around the mouth so that it's a little smoother, not so sharp of an edge. And then I think we could leave it like this, but you know, if you wanted to, you could move it around. Oh, that looks so bad. So yeah, we have like our open mouth, and if we wanted to, we could use the grab brush and then just kind of like manipulate it a little bit more. Like if you want him to be like happy, we could do a little like smile maybe. Yeah, he looks happy. But I think I was happy with him just yelling like that. But yeah, that's how I sculpt the mouth pretty much. I used to give him like teeth, but it didn't look good, so I don't do teeth. I just keep it simple and like that. So okay, so yeah, now it looks like he's yelling like his battle cry as he's charging into battle. And I think that's it. There you have it. That's my whole process. And what I do now is, to get this ready for 3D printing, we need this as one single object with no like internal geometry. So I'm just gonna take this whole thing. One thing I forgot to do is, usually with like, you know, we do this with hair. If we take this and then like join it, and let's say we apply the scale and then go to sculpt and then remesh, you'll be able to notice like little things like, you know, a little bit of checkering. So what I like to do is do that and then just smooth it out like this, and then usually smooth out the tips as well so they aren't like super sharp. And then yeah, that's what it looks like. So yeah, I forgot to do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just delete the base because we don't need that anymore. Select the whole thing, right click, and then join, which makes it one object, but it still has, again, to emphasize, if we go into X-ray mode, it still has all the internal geometry, as you can see, because you can see the back of the eyeballs. So what we're going to do is apply the scale, go to sculpt, and then for my final like remesh, I like to remesh it at 0.07 because it'll still be kind of a big file, and this is definitely not optimized in any way, but it saves us a few megabytes of data. So I like to do it 007, okay, 0.07. Click that remesh, and we're done. So now when we look at X-ray, we can see the eyes, but it's just the front of the eyes. We don't see the back of the eyeballs. And then all the internal geometry should be gone. So this is one object with, nothing in the inside. And then this is now ready to file, export as STL, and then save it as, here I have it as night rushing. And the final step is to export this into your slicer program of choice and add supports to it so that it can print without any overhangs being unsupported, and then print it. So I'm going to show you a couple of more poses that I came up with, and in the next video, we'll print these out. So I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And yeah, you'll notice like on these creases, there's like these like harsh connections, as I say, like this. But when you print this, it won't be an issue. So don't worry about that. Like I used to, as like a 6th step, like smooth these out. Like I'll do one now for you just to show you what it could look like. So we take this very small and then we hold shift and then we smooth it out like that. But it makes it like a little too smooth, and it would be a pain to do that on the whole model. And one thing you could do is just make this really, I'm gonna undo that last thing, really big, and then just like smooth it out like this. But I think you lose a lot of the detail, so I just decided that this is okay. And when it prints, because the resin is liquid, it'll just automatically smooth out all these parts. Okay, so if you look at this and you're like, oh, this looks so unprofessional, that's true. This is not, this is just for fun. We're just doing this for fun. We're not trying to like get a job at, Warhammer or whatever. This is just to, make your own miniature and print it out and have a physical thing. And maybe enter it into some contests that have some very tangible prizes. Okay? So I will do a quick montage of the different things I came up with. And if you learned something, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out the next video if you want to see this guy printed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.